Hi guys, today we're going to talk about how quick and easy it is to make homemade broth, and I'm actually going to demonstrate it and show you. I'm hoping after this you won't be so intimidated by the process of making broth because you're going to see how simple it is. If you watch a few of my other webinars, I talk about how incredible the health benefits are of bone broth and meat stock. I did a post on my blog at susanjohnson.com talking specifically about how broth can actually help people with cancer, with autoimmune disease, all kinds of different health challenges. So today we're going to make chicken broth, and this I believe is probably the most tolerable for people. It's very comforting, it's very soothing to the stomach, and it's very simple to make. So I'm going to start with an organic pastured chicken. Okay, you guys, the difference between organic free range that you buy at the store. Organic free range from the store is fed organic corn and soy. Chicken are actually supposed to eat on pasture, eat bugs and insects. So this is from a farm where they actually pasture the chickens, they eat bugs and insects. It's far superior in quality. So I've rinsed the chicken and thawed it. I'm going to dump it in my stock pot here. I also am going to add chicken feet. So my husband was totally freaked out when I did this once. He saw me do it one of the first times put it in. He's thinking, oh my gosh, now what are you going to feed me? But these are chicken feet from the pastured chicken. You can get them at any health food store. The reason, as creepy as they are, the reason we add them, you're not going to eat them, I promise. The reason we add them is because this is where a lot of the gelatinous properties lie, is actually in the chicken's feet. You aren't going to eat them. You just put it in the stock pot and let it cook, and you'll find that at the end of cooking broth with chicken feet, it will always gel. And what you want your broth to be like at the end is a really gelatinous consistency. So we added the chicken feet. I'm going to wash my hands. I've added 4 quarts of filtered water, okay? So when you do stock, you want to add about 4 to 5 quarts of water. So this is the 4th quart. I have the rest of the water in here. So about 16 cups of water, filtered water. This is the best part. I'm going to take 2 carrots. I've washed them. I do not cut them. I do not peel them. All I do is wash them. Put them in the stock pot. I'm going to take, the reason I'm doing 3 onions is, as you can see, these are pretty little. Usually you just need to use 1 large onion. I am not peeling them or cutting them. I'm putting them in the pot. Super simple. Same with the celery. The celery's been rinsed. I'm not cutting it or doing anything with it. Put it in the pot. Usually you just need about 2 stalks. I'm going to use this one broke, but 1 clove of garlic, head of garlic. I am not peeling them or cutting it. And the parsley's for the end. So then I'm going to take some raw apple cider vinegar, and you usually use about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to just kind of guess here. And I pour that in. Now, what you're going to do once you have all of this in here and you've added the raw apple cider vinegar, you're actually going to let it sit for about 30 minutes. And what that's going to do is the raw apple cider vinegar, during that time before the heat comes on, helps pull and extract a lot of the minerals out of the bones. So you're going to let it sit for 30 minutes. We're going to pretend that it's sat. I'm going to cover it. I put it on my back burner, and I'm going to turn it to high. So we want it to boil. We want to bring it to a boil. Once it boils, I use a spoon to skim off the top. Okay, because a lot of the impurities will rise to the top and almost look like a foam. So I use a spoon, I skim off the top, put it in a bowl and dump it. Then I lower it to low, and I will let my broth cook anywhere from 12 to 48 hours. Once it's done cooking, you turn it off, you add a bunch of organic parsley. So I'll probably take half of this bunch once it's done, throw it in here, and then I'm going to generously add some sea salt. So I'll probably add at least 1 tablespoon of sea salt to the broth. And we prefer, my husband, myself, and my 2 kids prefer the broth saltier. So you can add to taste. You can also salt each individual mug of broth. And then once that's done, I let it sit. So it's turned off. I've added the parsley. I've added the salt. I let it sit, and then I strain it. So what I do is I use a big strainer like this. I hold it over the bowl, and I carefully dump the entire contents of the pot into the strainer. So the whole chicken will usually land in here along with the feet and the vegetables. I pull that out, and then what you have is the liquid. So I get rid of the vegetables. I don't reuse them. I get rid of the chicken feet. What I do use is the meat. So once the meat's cooled, I let it sit for a little bit. Once it has cooled enough to be able to to use your hands. I take all of the meat out, I put it in a glass container, and I store it in the fridge. We use it for enchiladas, we use it for salads. Sometimes I'll make some homemade barbecue sauce, throw it on the chicken, and it's pulled chicken. It's a really simple and quick meal. And then this is really important to understand. So when you do, this is from a previous batch of broth that I made last week. See the dark color, it means it's full of minerals and incredible nutrients. So when I freeze broth, this is a really important tip. I always freeze it in glass mason jars. But when I freeze it, I only fill it to about here. So you leave a quarter, maybe an inch of space. You put it in the freezer once it's cooled down, and you do not put the lid on it. So I put it in the freezer with it filled to about here. I don't put the lid on, and I let it freeze. Once it's frozen, I then screw the lid on. I've destroyed hundreds of glass mason jars not doing it properly. So in order to save your broth and not have the mason jar bust, fill it to here, freeze it without the lid, and then screw the lid on top. Defrost it setting on your counter until it's totally defrosted. And again, the property is going to be very gelatinous, so it'll be almost like pudding or jello. You're not going to drink it that way, obviously. You'll heat it up in a little saucepan and enjoy it. You can add it to soups, you can cook beans with it, rice, whatever you enjoy, but we try to make an effort to have at least a mug a day. Simple. So that's how you make broth. You can go to seasonjohnson.com, look on my blog under chicken broth, and you'll find the recipe on how to make this. Thank you guys for watching.